One question that I'm asked all of the time is how do I layer fur and what order do I put my colours down as I'm building a portrait? Whilst colour order will depend largely on the subject that I'm drawing, the layering process is actually always pretty similar. So in this video, as I draw the ear of this Chihuahua dog, I'll take you through that process. We'll take a look at the colours that we use for each layer and I'll explain some of the pencil strokes as I go. Welcome or welcome back to the channel. If we haven't met yet, I'm Teresa and I'm a pet portrait artist creating tutorials from my studio on the edge of Dartmoor to help you develop your colour pencil artwork. I make shorter guided videos here on YouTube and full-length, real-time, step-by-step tutorials over on Patreon in the hope that I can inspire you to pick up those pencils and get drawing. So this video is a guide rather than a full tutorial. If you want to follow along and draw your own ear, there is an outline and a list of pencils that I'm using over on the free tier of my Patreon channel. So pop on over to Patreon and grab your line drawing and your pencil list if you're drawing with me too. Otherwise, sit back and I hope you enjoy the video. Okay, let's have a look at this ear. I've already put the base layer in. And I'm going to come in with what I'm calling my second base layer, and that is the brown ochre 10%. So let's have a look at getting this second base layer in. So it's just bringing in the ochre base layer, but with quite a desaturated feel to it with the grey underneath it. Now, one thing that I want to do, this bit here, if I just work along here, it's on the line drawing, but you can see we've got this lighter bit, that is the forehead. So that we don't get lost as we put the base layer down, I'm just looking for my nugget and I'm going to get the nugget and just work along the back of the head. So we've got the little bit of fur that comes off the top of the forehead. I'm just plotting that in so that I know that that is the edge of the face. So I'm plotting it in with the nugget. The nugget isn't necessarily the right colour. I'll need to make this darker, but it's a nice neutral colour. I can take the pencil and plot in anything that I need, any shapes that I need to plot in, anything that I need to make sure stays darker, I'm plotting it in. So this bit here, for instance, you can see that that is going to go dark. You know, we're going to probably put some dark sepia in there. But I'm plotting it in with this colour. It's nowhere near dark enough, but it's going to be darker than the base layer that I'm going to put down in a minute, which means I'll spot it. Same with this bit around here. This is the inner part of the ear. I've got the pencil tipped over and you can see that I'm plotting it in really, really lightly. I will lose it. The chances are I'll lose it, but it's here at this minute to just remind me that there's something there so that I don't lose the shapes as I'm putting the base layer in. So it's perfectly fine to plot things in even before you've put the base layers down with your darker colour. That can really, really be helpful. Stop you getting lost. Okay, so I'm coming back to my brown ochre 10%, and just like before, I'm going to work around the edge in the direction that the fur's going in. I'm working in the direction the fur's going in, but I don't need to worry about putting fur texture in. It's just getting a nice even coverage. So my pencil is just staying on the paper. And then let's work down towards the middle part of the ear. It's quite sketchy, it's quite scribbly at this stage. It's just getting some colour down. But I've got that flat end. If I just show you that there, I've got that flat end. Can you see that? If I just, there you go. Got that flat end, which is giving me a nice broad coverage of the pencil. And that really, really helps to get a smooth coverage. I'm even working down into the pink area, middle of the ear, and then let's do this bit around here. So I can go over that nugget now. And because I've put that nugget down really, really lightly, it'll just sort of blend into the background. It'll just become part of the fur. So it will actually add to the fur in that area. As long as it's nice and light, it'll add to the fur. But you can see as I've put the base layer over, as I've started to bring these ochre colours in, that's staying there. Eventually that will disappear because as I make things darker around it, that'll disappear. But by that time, I'll be in a position to start to get the right colours in here and darken this down anyway. Okay, so we've got the brown ochre 10%. Just like before, I'm going to go in with the brown ochre 50% and do exactly the same. This is the brown ochre 50%. Do exactly the same. Look for those darker bits. I'm lifting my pencil off the paper this time because, just like I think I said before, there isn't necessarily going to be a lot of layers that are in this ear. I want it quite soft, quite desaturated, quite fuzzy. So because there aren't a lot of layers going down, I know I'm not necessarily coming to the top layer, but I'm coming towards the top layers. So I can start to think about a little bit of texture. And that's the reason that I'm lifting the pencil off at the end, to just get a little bit of that feathered texture in the ear or in the fur. I'm starting on the outside of the ear again to get that lovely outer edge in. So my pencil strokes start on the outside and curve down into the ear, looking for those shapes. Either looking for the shapes that are this colour or looking for the shapes that I know this colour's going to go into the mix to build up the colour that I want. And then, just like before, this is the burnt ochre from the Polychromos, and I'm going to do the same again. I'm just looking for those bits that are a little bit more orange, and I'm very gently just letting the orange blend, the burnt ochre, blend into the middle of that ear, which I'm going to add the pink and the grey to. I'm going to come back to the colour that I was using on the inside of the ear, so that's the burnt sienna 10%, and I'm going to get some colour on the inside, just backwards and forwards, pencil strokes. And if you're not comfortable or worried that you're not going to be able to get a nice even coverage with the backwards and forwards, then just use those oval strokes. I'm going to bring in a little bit of this blue again. I'm going to bring a little bit of the indanthrene blue in because that's what I'm using. I've also got this violet grey, and I might bring a little bit of the violet grey in as well. So I've got both of these sort of close by. It's, like I said before on the other ear, it's really, really light. It's the tiniest touch of the pencil on the page. You can see there's hardly anything there. But if I was to make that much stronger, the ear would just become blue, and I don't want that. What I really want is a grey, but with the slightest touch of blue in there. I'm just curving around the edge. I don't want to take it everywhere. It's just sort of up the top, and it's a glaze really. I'm putting it in with pencil strokes. I'm lifting that pencil off at the end of each pencil stroke, but I'm not really looking for the texture. I'm lifting the pencil off really just to sort of keep control of it, keep it really light. It's just going to darken the grey and put a tint of blue in. Less is definitely more. So I've got a little bit there. There we go. I'm going to bring a little bit of the violet grey in as well. I mean, it's not necessarily adding that much. If you don't have it, I think you can get a nice sort of lilac colour with the blue and the pink anyway, which is what this is really. It's just like a lilac colour, but it's got that grey. But between the blue and the pink, that makes this sort of colour anyway, and the grey is going to desaturate it. So you don't always need, there's no always about it. You don't need every pencil because you can just mix the pencils to create pretty much the same colour. So you can see it's just sort of, the blue's still there, but we've got a little bit of the violet grey, and in a minute I'm going to go over it with the cold grey anyway. I want to bring in some of the darker colours, but I don't want it to go sort of too grey and too dull, so I'm coming back to this nugget again. So the one thing that I'm going to do, I can see I need to make the inside of this ear dark around here, so I'm just using little circular strokes, just bringing a little bit of the nugget in. I'll still bring the grey in, but this will just lift it a little bit, working around the curve, feathering in the fur when I need to, just using little circular strokes, maybe little scribbles. And it's not that dark, I'll still come in and darken it again. So to do this, I'm just picking a starting point and then just working around it, looking at the reference photograph all the time. I'm probably looking at the reference photograph more than I'm actually looking at my work, because I'm just working around it, putting these shapes in, sort of drawing the structure in now with the shapes, because that's what's going to give us the dimension, the darker bits. I'm drawing it in again with a pencil that is dark enough that I can see it, to make sure that I'm happy that it's all going right, but not too dark that if I need to change it, I can change it. And it's also the right sort of tone, because obviously the nugget works really well with the pink, it works with the grey, it works with the burnt ochre colours. So it's a nice choice because it goes with all the colours in here, which means I can use it to plot all of the shapes in. So that's really, really useful. And then I will bring in things like, you know, the walnut brown, the cold grey, 6, a little bit maybe of the dark sepia here and there, just like we did before. This is a really, really useful colour, really neutral colour, which means I can either get rid of it by blending it into other colours, or I can leave it there and it'll work well as part of the drawing. And I'm remembering when I go to the edge of the ear, I'm remembering to start on the edge and work in. That's going to give me a more natural feathered feel to the ear. Blend the colours in. I can let the nugget come over and into this middle part of the ear. So it's going over that blue area. So we're toning that blue down a little bit, but you can see it's still coming through. But it's just got a little bit more life to it. Even though it's going grey, it's got a little bit more life. It's got the undertone of the blue, a little bit of the purple. It's just got a bit more life than if I'd just done that with grey. Okay, so I've started to get some of the nugget in there. I'm coming back to my pink because I just want to make this a little bit darker in here. So a little bit more pink right down the bottom as well. So I'm just using circular strokes for that. I'm going to come back to the burnt ochre because I need to make this darker here. I was going to bring the walnut into this bit, but actually this needs to go a little bit darker first. So let's bring a little bit of the burnt ochre into this space. Let's top up the orange brown colour, top it up here as well. The pencil's really tipped over. It's just putting a glaze on, really. It's just putting a really light translucent layer of pencil so that you can see the colour, but you can also see all the colours and the layers underneath. I'm going to move to the walnut brown, and I'm going to bring the walnut brown in behind the ear. I'm sort of working it into the ear behind the fur that's on the head to curve that around, just very gently letting it drift into the fur that's on the forehead. And it looks like I'm putting an awful lot of pigment down, but the pigment's going down so lightly that sometimes hardly anything is actually coming off the end of the pencil. And that's what I want, because that means I can build up variations in the values and the tones. Using little circular strokes if I want to darken an area down. This is going to go quite dark in here, and I'm going to use, at the very least, the dark sepia, maybe even a little bit of the black, but I'm still going to put the walnut in, because I don't have to go straight from, you know, like A to Z. I don't have to go from 1 to 100 with a value. So even though that is going to go dark in there, by me putting the walnut in there, even when I put the dark sepia or the black in, some of that walnut will still show through. So it'll give me a variation of the values in there, and that will make it look more realistic. Now I don't want to put the walnut everywhere to create the darker bits, because I obviously want to bring in some of the cooler colour. I want to bring in the cold grey 6 like you did before. But this is still really useful to bring in, and it'll warm up the cold grey in areas like I said when we were using the nugget. There we go. Okay, let's move on to the cold grey 6, and just like before, let's bring in a little bit of this texture now. Lifting the pencil off at the end of the pencil stroke so that I can start to bring in this feathered texture. But it's still really, really soft, because it's softly focused, because I don't want the ears to be really strong and have lots of detail. I'm just bringing a little bit more texture into the middle of the ear, so still picking up those little negative bits that are in between, darkening down bits that I can see need to go a little bit darker. Obviously I'm using the cold grey 6, so it's dark, but it's not really, really dark. I'm going to use the primrose, and I'm going to blend some of the pencil strokes, just lighten some of them, blend some of them, just lightening the areas that I can see are a little bit more of this ivory colour. Using it to blend the outer and the inner side of the ear. Bring the two sides together. I want to work in with a little darker bit right in the middle here. Now I'm going to just bring in a little bit of the blue and probably the nugget to create my own version of the black, because I don't just want to keep putting grey in here. I'm bringing in a really, really light glaze of this in Danthering Blue. It's just sort of down that one side. I'm just going to bring in a little bit of the dark sepia over this blue, really lightly. You can see how light I'm pressing, just to darken that down without keep making it grey. There's still plenty of grey in there. And here we go. Here's the final portrait of this beautiful little Chihuahua dog drawn in colour pencil on hot press paper. I hope that you found this quick guide helpful. Don't forget, if you want to have a go at drawing your own ear, you'll find a line drawing and pencil list over on the free tier of my Patreon. And if you are going to draw the ear, I'd love to see your finished drawings once they're done. You can upload them in the community section of my channel here on YouTube. I look forward to seeing them. Whether you're drawing along with me or just watching to pick up a few tips, I hope that you found my process for drawing the ear useful. If you haven't done so yet, remember to hit that like button and subscribe if you found the video useful. And leave me a comment to let me know whether you enjoyed the video and whether you'd like to see more little projects like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.